Welcome back to our World Philosophy Conference. Since the next part of the program is a gender sensitivity workshop, our trivia will be on a philosopher who is also known to be part of the LGBT group. Okay, so are you all excited? Okay, so who is this philosopher who said this line? A man can bear himself before others only out of a particular kind of love, a love which acknowledges, as it were, that we are all wicked children. Here are the choices. Letter A, Plato. B, Alan Turing. C, Roland Barthes. D, Ludwig Wittgenstein. Okay. Ma'am Shercy, do we have a
They
participant
will
who got
type
the correct
their
answer?
answers on the chat box. So let's exercise those little fingers. Are you all alive, alert, our dear participants? Okay, hopefully you will participate in our game. What's your best guess? So just type on the chat box. Is it Plato? A? Is it B, Alan Turing? Or C, Roland Barthes? Or D, Ludwig Wittgenstein? Who said these lines? Okay, let's check our chat box.
Did
Okay,
someone got the
anyone?
correct answer, ma'am?
Okay. Someone? I can't see my chat box. Can you see who are typing? Your answers.
Please type your answers.
They can see the slides.
Okay.
They can see the slide. So my
So
slides are not showing.
I will
So,
read again the question. So he's this philosopher who said this line: a man can bear himself before others only out of a particular kind of love, a love which acknowledges, as it were, that we are all wicked children. The choices are Plato, A. Plato, B. Alan Turing, B. Roland Barthes, D. Ludwig Wittgenstein. Okay, which one?
can my screen be seen?
I can see some. I can see your screen, Ma'am Shai.
Oh, I think there's a problem with my screen. A while ago, I can share my screen.
Okay, let me share my screen instead. Please allow me.
Okay now, okay. You can share your screen.
Okay.
Okay, there. Okay, so on your screen, everybody. It's still loading for a while. There. Ready your fingers and your keyboards.
Just give it a try.
Who said this line? So this philosopher is also a part of the LGBT community. So this philosopher said this: a man can bear himself before others only out of a particular kind of love, a love which acknowledges, as it were, that we are all wicked children. Okay, start typing. What's your best guess? What's your answer? I cannot see anyone typing. I
Maybe
think,
they are afraid or what?
was Plato part of the LGBT community?
Okay, we have an answer here, Ma'am
From
Shai.
ESU, Jilim, Alan Turing. Thank you for that answer. Another one? Do you others? What's your best guess? C, from Roderick Centeno. Ma'am Hazel, what's the prize,
What's the
ma'am?
prize, ma'am?
Dr. JJ will announce the prize.
Okay, we have another answer here
Another
from
answer
Joshua
from
Miguel Sanchez. He says the answer is letter D. Is it the correct answer, Ma'am Shai?
Turing was, but Plato. So what's the answer? Okay, next slide. Let's reveal the answer.
And the answer is letter D. Ludwig
D.
Wittgenstein.
So Joshua Miguel Sanchez got the correct answer.
Okay.
Thank you for participating. So what's the next part of the program, Jason?
So at this juncture, we will have a gender sensitivity workshop, which will be given to us by Director Jap Ignacio. Director Jap Ignacio is the Executive Director of Babaylanes Incorporated. Babaylanes Incorporated aims to share lessons gained from years of LGBT student organizing to raise the level of consciousness of LGBT students and young LGBTs in the communities about their rights and sexuality, and serve as a center for leadership for the various LGBT formations across the country. Everyone, let us all welcome our speaker, Director Jap Ignacio. A round of applause, please. Director Jap, please take the floor.
Hi, good morning, everyone. You can call me Jap. I'll try sharing my screen. Okay, so for this morning, I was assigned to have a quick SOGS sensitivity workshop with the delegates of this year's World Philosophy Day conference. Yeah. So again, magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Good morning, everyone. Of course, first I want to thank the organizing team of this year's PAP World Philosophy Day conference, especially Ma'am Hazel. Hi, Ma'am Hazel. For inviting our organization, Babaylanes Incorporated, to share with you our knowledge about SOGS. So I am Jap Ignacio. You can call me Jap again. So, and I'm invited today to do a quick gender sensitivity training. Don't worry, because this session I believe it will be shorter than your other sessions. I'll try to make the discussion shorter so we can have more time for question and answer later, and we can have our lunch break earlier. So, as you can see on my slide, I call this presentation SOGS Wellbeing and Inclusion. SOGS standing for sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and sex characteristics. So as I had mentioned, I'm from Babaylanes Incorporated. We are a small NGO based here in Quezon City. Babaylanes was established in 2008, and we are mandated to serve as an LGBTQI resource center by through doing three things now. Number one would be developing SOGS-focused research and LGBTQI responsive policies. Second is by providing expertise in LGBTQI issues and human rights education, just like what we are doing right now. And of course, the third one would be organizing networks for advocacy and campaigns. We also help LGBTQI students to organize themselves, so they can have university or school-based LGBTQI groups that would become their support groups and advocacy organizations. And lastly, we are the alumni organization of UP Babaylan. It's an LGBTQI organization based in UP Diliman. And as our older alumni would sometimes call Babaylanes, that they tell us that it's the home for the aged of UP Babaylan. So before we start, I want to manifest that this is a safe space. This means that during our discussion, we should leave our prejudices and biases once we officially start. And there would, sabi kanila, walang maling tanong. So hashtag no judgment. So During my discussion, I think I suggest that you write down your questions so that we can have the question and answer portion on the last part of this session. The success of this session relies highly on us being open with our issues, being unafraid to speak our minds, and feeling safe that the information that we may share in this session will not be used against us. So another aspect of a safe space is mutual respect. So please refrain from uttering homophobic and transphobic remarks, or more accurately, cis-sexist and heterosexist remarks. Let's refer to other people with a name and pronouns that they prefer to be referred to. If we want, we can place our preferred pronouns as part of our display names here in Zoom. A disclaimer before I start, I am not a philosophy student, so my discussions this morning may have a lot of premises that I don't know if I need to prove, or I might use different perspectives and natures on discussing a concept. I leave it to you as the philosophy students to how you might want to explore the concepts that I will be introducing and discussing this morning through different philosophical perspectives. So, okay, let's start with a very short kamustahan. We can use our chat box just like what we did with the trivia quiz. I will be asking questions and you can answer by typing in the number corresponding to the emoji that that represents your answer. Okay. So the range of the emojis is from the sad face to the very happy one. So my first question would be, since this is a kamustahan, how was your breakfast? Okay. So please type in your answer. So 550. Okay. 76. Assumption that there was a breakfast. Sorry. Oh. 64645. Okay. 4. Okay. Question closed. So no more entries for answer. Okay. Last one is Zigob. Zibogs or Zigob. I don't know. Okay. So our next question would be, how was your sleep? I'm not asking on the quantity or the length of the sleep, of our sleep, but rather I want you to answer the question by providing the quality of your sleep. Okay, 5, 4, 5, 6. What? May 2. 7. Oh. 5, 2, 4. So our average is around 4.732. Shut up. Okay. Okay. Someone asked what sleep. Another assumption is that we are able to sleep last night. Okay. I see a lot of 7s, 5s, and there are also low answers, low numbers like 2. Okay. So on average, we had a good night's rest naman. So I guess we can have a fruitful discussion this morning. Okay, so my last question for this kamustahan would be, it is now 10:36 a.m. on November 17, 2021. So my question would be, how are you? So kamusta ka? Five, 6, 1, 5. 7, 7. Oh, we have a lot of high numbers. Okay. Okay. So for the next part, I will be going back to this kamustahan a little later on. But for now, let me continue with more questions. And I hope people can participate by if I call someone, or someone can raise their hand if they want to participate, and share their answers to my questions by unmuting themselves and sharing their answers. Okay. So my first question is, what do you want less of? So these are things that we currently have or we currently experience, but we want to lessen or we want less of. Okay. I will be randomly choosing a name. What do you want less of? Miguel Baluyot. Can you share your answer? You can unmute or you can type in your question. Miguel. Okay, I'll be calling someone else. What do you want less of? Jason Bentayaw. Jason James Bentayaw. Sir Jason.
Hello. Less of. Mm, I have less of workloads.
Okay. How about you, Rainier Santi de Leon? Can you share things that you want less of? Sir
I
Rainier.
want less anxiety and less, yeah, pretty much anxiety and self-hate. That's what I want less of. Things that give me physical, like gives me things to overthink. That's what I want less of.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Sir Rainier. Okay. So before I explain why I'm asking these questions, let me continue first with since I asked you what do you want less of, what do you want less of? My next question would be what do you want more of? So these are things that we currently have, but we want to continue to experience it or to have more of it. Can you share what you want more of, Ma'am Hazel?
More money.
Relate, yes. Not all have a lot of money. No. Thank you, Ma'am Hazel. How about you, sir? How about you, Vida Mia? What do you want more of?
Actually, my knee-jerk reaction is the same as Hazel's. More money. More money, more
Yes.
muscle. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you for those answers. So I guess a lot of us here want more money so we can participate more in 11/11, 12/12, do online shopping. Okay. Lenny Garcia shared more kindness. Hazel also answered and world peace, of course. That's the beauty contest default answer, world peace. Okay, my last question for this part would be, what else do you want? So these are things that we currently do not have or we haven't achieved yet, but we want. So okay, there's an answer each time. Okay. What else do you want? So these are things or people who are not yet in our lives, but we want to be included in our lives. Can you share your answer, Ma'am Lenny? What else do you want? Lenny, ayan, for the pandemic to be over and the world to be again. Yes, I agree. How about you, Ma'am Bianca Gozon? Bianca Marica? What else do you want? Let me call Bianca, same thoughts with Doc Len. So no one is going to answer, I want a jowa or something. I want a new lover. Shercy shared that she wants me time. Vida wanted to go to wants to go to Greece. Okay. So travel, no. You want travel. More kindness from Dominic. Okay. So I did this short Q&A on what we want less of, what we more of, and what else we want to preface our discussion for this morning on the concept well-being. So before I start introducing SOGS concepts, I want to preface it with this concept. As again, it's well-being. As you can remember from our kamustahan, my last question was, how are you? And for us Filipinos, kamusta, when we are asked kamusta, we usually answer with okay lang or just right. And sometimes we don't even answer the question kamusta. When someone says, "Oy, kamusta?" we just answer back, "Oy, kamusta rin?" So I think kamusta for Filipinos has become a mere pleasantry. But actually, it's also a question, how are you is a question of one's well-being. So well-being is how people feel and function on a personal and social level and evaluate their lives as a whole. So we usually hear this term well-being together with the term health. Health and well-being. Well-being has been overlooked in the past. Only in recent years, when mental health took the center stage in social discussions, that well-being became a topic of interest. Well-being also involves our evaluation of our lives based on positive self-regard, mastery of the surrounding environment, quality relations with others, continued growth and development, and capacity of self-determination. So in Filipino, the closest translation of the term well-being that I know of is kagalingan. So some would say it's kalagayan or something else, but I think the more accurate, Lenny also shared that it might be kaginhawaan. But I prefer the term kagalingan because it can also mean excellence in English, right? Kagalingan. But kagalingan can also mean well-being. So there are several factors that affect our well-being. So our well-being is affected when we want a lot of things that we want less of, that we want more of, and it is also affected by the things that we want to achieve. What else do we want? So that's why I asked you those questions earlier. So those things that negatively affects our well-being is what we will call deterrents or stressors. And those things that positively affect our well-being is what we will call enablers. So enablers of well-being, and the other one will be deterrents of well-being. For now, we will park our discussion on well-being. Let's hold on to our understanding of well-being because we will be using this concept later on in our session. Okay, so that ends part 1. And for now, again, I will be flashing questions, and please use the chat function again to share your answers to these questions. So the first question would be, what is your sex? So when you are asked this question, what is your sex? What is your usual response to that question? Hazel answered 0. Okay, Lenny, female. There are answers, male, male, male. Okay. So I guess we... Kaya daw pala 1 si Ma'am Hazel kanina dahil 0 ang kanya. When asked the question, what is your sex? Her answer is 0. Okay. Anyways, I asked this question. How do I start this? Okay. Let's start from the beginning of our lives. Of course, at first, when we come out of our mothers, either via normal or cesarean delivery, the first thing that the doctor or the midwife, or maybe the tricycle driver, in case our mothers did not make it in the operating room, the first thing that the person performing the delivery would do is, of course, to catch the baby. After that, the person will be hitting the bottom of the baby to induce crying so that the lungs will bloom. The person will then do a very important administrative function. And it is to initiate the creation of a very important document that we will be using for the rest of our lives, the certificate of live birth. In Filipino, birth cert. Yan. So it is important that the baby cries, because if the baby doesn't cry, a different certificate will be created. I think later on all of us will all have this different certificate, but hopefully not in the near future. So in the birth certificate, the person will assign the baby male if the organ between the baby's legs resembles a penis. And if it resembles a vagina, the baby will be assigned female. So this will be the infant's sex marker as reflected on the birth certificate. It is what we call sex assigned at birth. So this is the first important concept on understanding SOGS. Sex assigned at birth. It is important to understand that sex is assigned at birth. We were not consulted by our doctors or midwives if we prefer to be assigned male or female. They did not do something. There was never a situation like the doctor asking the baby, if you want to be assigned male, cry harder, or if you want to be assigned female, stop crying. So there was no consultation there. So again, sex assigned at birth refers to the sex marker assigned or ascribed to infants by doctors or midwives, usually based on external genitalia. So this brings us to the first set of letters from our SOGS alphabet, the SC part. So The SC part refers to sex characteristics. So actually, sex characteristics is the latest addition to the SOGI alphabet. If you can remember, before the discussion only revolves around SO or sexual orientation, and then it included GI, gender identity, and then it extended to SOGI with an E, which included gender expression, and now there's this addition of sex characteristics. So why the addition of sex characteristics? Because for the longest time we have been using the term LGBTQI, LGBTQIA+, and the I stands for intersex. And intersex is only the discussion on intersex can only be covered in by discussing sex characteristics. So what are sex characteristics? Sex characteristics are primary and secondary biological characteristics that may show whether a person is male, female, or intersex. So primary characteristics are often present at birth. For example, genitalia, which is the basis on our assigned sex at birth. Another primary characteristic would be our sex chromosomes. On the other hand, secondary characteristics will often manifest during puberty. So these are changes in our bodies caused by our hormone levels. Hormone levels will define how hairy a person is, how pronounced a person's Adam's apple is, how wide a person's hips, and etc., etc. So I think we are all familiar with the term female and male, as I have seen in your answers. When you are asked the question, what is your sex? You usually answer female, male. And for Ma'am Hazel, 0. Okay. But what is intersex? Intersex persons, they are born with a biological makeup that does not pertain to either binary of male or female. So there are different intersex conditions. Some conditions exhibit in the physical appearance of a person's genitalia. So upon examining the sexual organ of a person, it may appear that it is not distinguishable as vagina or penis. So that's one intersex condition. Other conditions exhibit in the chromosome level. The usual male chromosome, if we can remember our biology class in high school, the usual male sex chromosome is XY. And the usual female sex chromosome is XX. But there are individuals whose sex chromosome is XXX or maybe XXY. So those are other types of intersex conditions. But those conditions are present in primary sex characteristics. There are also manifestation of intersex conditions in secondary sex characteristics. For example, a person is assigned female at birth, but while growing up, because of her hormone levels, male sex characteristics may start to develop. So again, currently, the Philippine legal system only recognizes male and female as sex categories. Those are the only two choices in executing a certificate of live birth. Because of this, intersex persons are assigned as either male or female. Okay, that ends our first the discussion on our first set of letters from our SOGS alphabet. Okay, so my next question would be, what are you? When you are asked, what are you? What is your usual response? So when we did this same workshop with the Canadian Embassy, they actually pointed out that the right question or the more grammatically consistent question would be, who are you? But for us Filipinos, I think we can understand this question, what are you? Or in Tagalog, ano ka ba? Ganyan. Ano ka? Ganyan. So when you are asked, what are you? What is your usual response? So Ma'am Lenny said an alien. So when she is asked the question, what are you? She usually respond an alien. Okay, bye Ma'am Lenny. How about the others? When you're asked, what are you? What is your usual response? I think some people would respond with their occupation, or some people would say a person, just like what Hazel said, a person, a human being. When we do this workshop in women in communities, in urban poor communities or in rural communities, their usual answer would be, ako ay isang ina, I am a mother, or ako ay isang asawa, I am a wife, I am a sister, I am, so something like that. Okay, before I reveal our second set of letters from our SOGS alphabet, let's have a short discussion on sex and gender. I think we often conflate sex and gender, no? For example, when we go to public establishments, and we are asked to fill up a form, there's usually a section on gender, and the usual choices would be male and female, which is our sex assigned at birth. So, and as we had just learned, sex often refers to biological makeup of a person. Okay, so for the sake of our discussion, I will be using the nature of sex as a biological trait and gender as socially constructed. So sex often refers to biological makeup of a person. Gender is a social construct, meaning society defines what gender is. Gender is the set of social roles and expectations of being a woman or a man. So there. So the reason why I asked you the question, what are you or who are you, is because we will be discussing the concept of gender identity. So just like your answers to the question, a person's gender identity is defined by the self. Gender identity is refers to how a person identifies in relation to their true sense of gender. So this is the deeply felt sense of self that may refer to being a man, a woman, or other genders, for example, genderqueer and non-binary identities. So again, only the person can define the gender identity that they identify with. Okay. Or so I say. Shut up. And going back to our first concept, sex assigned at birth, when one's gender identity is different from their assigned sex at birth, the individual may identify along the transgender spectrum. Cisgender refers naman to when one's gender identity match the sex assigned to them. And these terms are often added in front of these terms. So to be specific with one's gender identity. For example, a person was assigned female at birth, but while growing up, they realized that they think they identify more as a man. So he is a man. And he is a transgender man because his gender identity, which is man, is different from his sex assigned at birth, which was female. So on the other hand, a person who was assigned female at birth, who realizes that she identifies as a woman, is a cisgender woman. Okay. Okay. So my next question would be, what do you like to wear? So what is your usual ensemble when you go to the mall, or maybe when you go, or when you do online classes? What is your usual ensemble? Hey, Gucci. Social naman. Miguel, casual wear. T-shirt, shorts. Dress above the knee, rubber shoes. Very specific with the full details of the ensemble. Shorts, polo shirts. Okay, thank you. Shorts, comfy outfit. Okay, so let me build on that answer from Zigob. Comfy, so comfort. We wear what we're comfortable wearing, right? So I think that would be a very good taking off point to discuss our next set of letters, gender expression. Because gender expression pertains to the way an individual presents oneself, including physical appearance, choice in clothing and accessories. And it also includes our behavior that may pertain to aspects of gender. One can be feminine or masculine on how they present themselves. And they can also be somewhere in between or androgynous. And the way we express ourselves in terms of gender is how we are comfortable expressing ourselves. And please note that gender expression is a separate layer of our sexuality from one's gender identity. A person's gender expression may or may not match a person's gender identity. For example, a person may identify as a woman, but she's more comfortable wearing more quote-unquote manly clothes or masculine clothes. And she may prefer to have short hair, which is usually associated with being a man. And her expression of her gender expression, which is masculine, will not change how she sees herself as a woman. So that would be my example on gender identity being different from our gender expression. So my last question would be, whom do you like? No need to answer that question if you're not comfortable sharing, but let's just do another activity. Do you still remember your first crush? Like, when was the first time you had your first crush? Can you type in your grade level when you had your first crush? Oh, there's an answer. Grade 1. How about the others? First year high school. Grade 4. Grade 7. Okay. Thank you for those answers. This brings us to our next topic, which is sexual orientation. What I want us to realize in this part is that feelings of attraction are natural. Remember how innocent your first crush is, the mere chance that you were seated next to your crush, or you were able to touch the tip of their elbow. It already makes you blush or kilig-kilig. And attraction may be physical, emotional, romantic, or sexual. The absence of attraction is also a natural thing. Some people do not experience attraction to other people, or they experience very little attraction to other people. So sexual orientation pertains to a person's sexual and or emotional attraction to another person. So we use orientation and not preference because we are defining the direction of our attractions. So, for example, a lesbian is a woman and she is attracted, her attraction is towards other women. Gay men are men whose attraction are towards other men. A heterosexual woman is a woman whose attraction is towards men. A bisexual person is a person whose attraction is towards the same and different gender. And asexual people are people that do not experience that experience very little to no attraction to another person. Okay, so those are the different concepts in the SOGS alphabet: sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and sex characteristics. So I wanted to close this part with this very short activity. We call it My SOGS because yes, we all have SOGS. It is a part of our identities as human beings. Our experience of our sexuality can reflect our SOGS. But what we will do now is to reflect on ourselves. If we are not ready to answer these questions, we can continue to reflect even after this session on how we identify in terms of our SOGS. So right now, let's reflect on our SOGS and just on your minds. No need to chat or unmute. Encircle or mark tick on this bullets on the identity that corresponds to each part of your SOGS. So for example, sex characteristics. Are your sex characteristics more, do you have more female sex characteristics or male sex characteristics? Or do you think you have intersex conditions? In terms of gender identity, do you identify more as a woman or a man? Gender queer. I think we're all familiar with the queer concept, right? Like queer has always been for the longest time has been a derogatory term towards LGBTQI people or non-straight people. But the LGBTQI community was able to reclaim it and made it an identity, a non-label identity, which just states that I don't fall in the boxes of being a man or a woman. I am a queer person, something like that. While non-binary identities are those, it's similar to queer, but their first premise is that gender is not a binary. There are gender identities that may fall outside being a man and a woman. Okay. And queer as a term can be used to refer to one's gender expression, like I express myself in a queer way. Sexual orientation, it can also be used to describe one's sexual orientation, that my sexual orientation is queer. It doesn't fall on the current identities under sexual orientation. So it's not, I'm not a lesbian, I'm not gay, I'm not bisexual, I'm not heterosexual, I'm queer. Something like that. So again, on our reflection, let's go back to our reflection. So in terms of gender expression, do you think you express yourself more in a feminine way, more in an androgynous way, or maybe more in a masculine way? And lastly, do you identify as a lesbian? Are you a woman attracted to other women? Or are you a gay man, a man attracted to other men? Or maybe your experience of your sexuality is more on the bisexual experience, which you are attracted to the same and different gender. Or are you heterosexual? Are you a person attracted to the different gender? Or are you queer? Or do you not have any attraction to other people? Are you asexual? Okay, so let's look at this term, LGBTQI community. We often hear or read this term, but let's try to break down the letters. LGB stands for lesbian, gay, and bisexual, and as we have learned, those are sexual orientations. T or transgender is a gender identity. Intersex is a category under sex characteristics, and queer can be used to describe one's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. So that's the meaning of the term LGBTQI community. So I hope we were able to understand the SOGS concepts, because now we will be marrying our understanding of well-being with the SOGS concepts. So stigma refers to the devaluation of an individual based on attributes treated negatively by others. So in Filipino, stigma is pangmamata, which can also mean to look down upon. So LGBTQI people have been looked down upon by other individuals in the society now. Another term for LGBTQI people is people with diverse SOGS. So people with diverse SOGS refers to people or individuals whose SOGS is not quote unquote straight. Straight meaning cisgender heterosexual individuals. So because LGBTQI people are stigmatized on the virtue of not having a SOGS that fall under the straight identity. Again, LGBTQI people are stigmatized on the virtue of not having a SOGS that fall under the straight identity. So if you are not cisgender and heterosexual, and you express you are gender conforming in your gender expression, most likely you will not experience stigma on the basis of your SOGS. But if you fall outside that cisgender, heterosexual, gender conforming identity, you are subject to stigma. And stigma, when put into action or policies, may lead to exclusion, discrimination, or even it can also result in violence. No? So discrimination refers to unjust treatment that leads to the impairment of one's rights and freedoms. Discrimination so these grounds, so the unjust treatment is based on any grounds, and these grounds may either be actual or perceived. So meaning, whatever your actual SOGS is, if you are perceived to be a person with diverse SOGS, or you are perceived to be part of the LGBTQI community, you can still experience discrimination. Discrimination in Filipino, I think, can mean the translation can be ang iiba, but in this case, in our usage of the term discrimination, the more accurate Filipino term would be pagsasantabi. So sinasantabi natin yung karapatan ng ibang tao because of certain attributes that they have. So for LGBTQ people, because of their SOGS, they do not experience the same rights and freedoms as a straight person would. And in terms of discrimination, there is also direct discrimination and indirect discrimination. Direct discrimination occurs when a person is treated less favorably than another person in the same or comparable circumstances on the ground of their SOGS. So for example, there are two applicants to a job post. One is a straight male, cisgender heterosexual male person. And another is a transgender woman, and they have the same qualifications, but the company would hire the cisgender heterosexual male applicant just because of the SOGS of those two applicants. That's an example of a direct discrimination. Indirect discrimination occurs where an apparently neutral condition or requirement is imposed, but it has an effect of unreasonably disadvantaging a person of diverse SOGS. For example, these are policies that appear neutral at face, but actually when they are being imposed, it causes discriminatory experiences. For example, uniform policies. There's a uniform for women, and there's a uniform for men. Usually those are the uniform policies. But usually uniforms for men would only be given or would only be allowed to people assigned male at birth. So for example, you are a transgender man, you won't be able to use the uniform for men. And this is one case that a uniform policy that may appear neutral at face value can actually be a cause for discriminatory experiences. So when we experience stigma and discrimination on the basis of our SOGS, it negatively affects well-being. So in short, stigma and discrimination can greatly affect a person's well-being. So they are considered as stressors or deterrents, as we have discussed earlier. They are deterrents to well-being. On the other hand, diversity refers to individual differences, may it be in traits or characteristics. So all of us can be different in terms of our SOGS, but other dimensions of diversity also include race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, age, religious and political leanings, and other ideologies. And inclusion refers to the process of ensuring equal and accessible opportunities for all regardless of their background and characteristics. So diversity, ito yung pagkilala natin sa pagkakaiba-iba natin. While inclusion is making sure na kahit magkakaiba tayo, however we are different, pantay-pantay yung access natin sa ating mga rights and freedoms. So however we are different, we are able to access the same rights and freedoms. So diversity and inclusion, on the other hand, improves well-being, meaning they are enablers or tagapagpaganap ng well-being. So we have a very simple equation here. So we need to remove stigma and discrimination on the basis of a person's attributes, which may include our SOGS, and include more diversity and inclusion to improve the well-being of a person or the well-being of an organization. Because improved well-being also brings productivity, participation, and more development. So I think that ends my discussion for this morning on the SOGS concepts and relating it to well-being and inclusion.